I think Australia's got a pretty unique business environment at the moment because post-GFC, we weren't as a country all that affected. I mean, certainly we felt the ripples from Europe and America, but I think we sustained business throughout the year of 2009 reasonably well, and officially didn't go into recession. But nonetheless, post-GFC, we've still got some reservation about what companies are doing. And in 2009, what companies actually asked their employees to do is, let's hold the fort, there's not going to be any pay rises, we're going to have to cut down overtime, we're going to have to go down to 9-day fortnights. So they really did weather the storm well, but they did that because their employees jumped in the boat with them and said, hey, we'll hang on with you and we'll be loyal to you. Now, post that period, what we've found is that they're having a difficulty in retention because they're not returning back to what was in 2008. They're not saying, hey, thanks for hanging out with us in 2009. Thanks for being loyal when we needed you the most. And the employees are now looking for that thanks that they're not getting. And because they're not getting it, they're starting to look for another job. So the environment is one of retention issues, and really where the good people know they're good and they're looking for a job, or at least a marketplace or a workforce that appreciates them. I think the people-related challenges in Australia at the moment are mainly related to a post-GFC period, which is we've got a high issue in retention at the moment because people don't feel they've been appreciated for what they did in 2009, which has helped their workplaces through a tough period. I think also we've got a lack of engagement or an issue with engagement for the very same reasons. So, hey, they may not want to move on because they don't want to go out and look for a new job. Maybe it's convenient in a number of ways. But it doesn't mean just because they're not moving that they're going to be engaged. So there's a low engagement issue there. So I would say to you they're the top two that are causing us an issue at the moment. Well, I think if you come back to the issue of engagement, really engagement is born from looking from the perspective of the employee and saying, why would you be engaged here at the workplace? For many of us, whether we're the business owner, a senior manager in a business or an employee, the business is a tool for us to achieve our personal goals, to achieve what we want to achieve outside of the workplace. And so how do we overcome an engagement issue? We have to understand what those goals are from the personal perspective of the employees. And when we have an understanding of that, how can we reshape the role in such a way where the employee comes to work and says, the reason I'm here is because it's helping me achieve what I want out of my life, not only here in my workplace, but more importantly, outside of the workplace. Now, if a manager can do that successfully at all levels of employees in their business, I think they're going to find that overall it's a far more engaged workforce, not because of necessarily a buy-in to their corporate goals, but a buy-in at each person's level to their own personal goals and how the workplace is a vehicle to achieve them. Look, I think leaders in our country need to come back down to the old what's in it for me at the employee level. So to be an effective leader, I think they've really got to engage their employees and understand that at the end of the day, employees are really a volunteer at the business. Sure, they get paid to do a job, but good people know that they can go and get a job tomorrow at another workplace. And so if a leader understands that a good person working in their organisation is actually there by choice, then they understand to retain them and make sure they remain effective. What they've got to actually do is understand why that person wants to turn up to work each day. And that understanding really involves them having to get down to what makes this person tick, what makes them motivated, or how do we sustain the motivation of the person. So if I was wanting to improve my effectiveness as a leader, it would be understanding each and every person that I'm working with in what's important to them in the workplace and how they can get the most out of it. I think the assessments tells a story that we all suspect is there, but we don't quite understand how to articulate it, or we don't quite understand why certain things exist. So we all have a gut feel about a person. We all have a perception at an interview level, or maybe we're working with someone who's been with us for 5 or 10 years and we know that they generally tend to react in a certain way. But I think when you come down to how do we metrically improve the effectiveness of someone, we can't rely on the gut feel or the generally they react that way anymore. We need to come down to the science of understanding that there's a personality within that person, within all of us, and that personality can be derailed very easily, or they can be managed to improve and improve and improve. And so what the assessments do is they give us a really good insight in a very scientific way, but a very understandable way, on how do I help that person, number one, stay far away from the derailment side, but more importantly, number two, how do I help that person go from the level they're at now, which could be very effective, to the next level again. And sometimes they don't understand much of what makes them tick either. And so they know they react in certain ways, they may not like the way they react, but getting that understanding between the two of you of what personality sits here and how we're going to best manage that, it not only helps management, but it helps the individual as part of that assessment as well. Well, I think charisma is an interesting word, isn't it? Because charisma, if you look at it as a charm or an appeal, a sense of magnetism for that person, which instills a sense of enthusiasm for those people that are observing that leader and saying that person's just got something about them. And you could probably think of political leaders in each country that we look at that are known for their charisma. That's something. But then you bring it down to the individual level and say, well, hey, I'm a leader too. How do I improve my personal charisma? And if charisma is about that X factor that creates an enthusiasm amongst the people around me, and how I can get them to actually be enthusiastic about where we're all headed as a team, well then I can use an assessment to better understand that person, to better understand what makes them enthusiastic, and my extra sense of, or my extra ability to engage with that person because I understand what makes them tick, is actually probably going to be portrayed through that viewer's eyes as charisma, because I'm relating to that person as an individual. So I think you almost have two levels of charisma. You've got that X factor that we can all observe in people that we've heard so much about, but you've also got that other factor that we can grow and develop just by understanding what makes Ben tick here and what makes Mary tick here, because at that individual level I'm developing charisma with that person.